Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you are well, and I hope your loved ones and all those who are dear to you are too. Being good Atlanta lawyers, unless we're in court or standing in front of Presiding Justice Nahmias about to do an oral argument, we're rarely on time. So we'll give folks a minute or two to join us. I hope, as your president, this will be our first and last Zoom annual meeting ever. We hope to see one another next year at the PDC over lunch and have a lot of time to socialize with each other and catch up. As we've often joked this year, what's an association without associating? So we're looking forward to that, to being back together in one form or another soon. As we lean into that, part of the way we've done it is to have this by Zoom so that more of us can join, and we're not strapped by having something outdoors or indoors that isn't as safe and workable. Let me ask a couple of favors of you. One is, would you please keep muted? And two, would you please not share screen? We've had just only one in a whole year of many, many Zooms, including our Zooms at noon once a month on Tuesday, only one really near fatal accident with the sharing of someone's inbox with a lot of people. So we don't want to go there. Please mute. As some of you, I will be asking to unmute along the way so you can respond to an oath and be recognized. I'll ask that too. Thank you for being here. I know we all have Zoom fatigue. I have it as much as you, but this is an important tradition. It looks different. It's not the same as always, but it's just as important and just as meaningful as ever. If you don't know me yet, I'm Craig Cleland, and I've been honored to be your Zoom president this year. I'm going to begin by introducing those who are participating in the program so that we don't have to sort of stop along the way. We've come up with an abbreviated program this year, and that's not to take anything away from anything that we're doing. It's more out of necessity and convenience. We are very honored to have these folks to participate in our program. Tenor Timothy Miller, whom many of you may already know. Yes, applause indeed. Many of you may already know Timothy is a not only national but internationally known and renowned tenor. He is a professor at Morehouse College, where he teaches voice and music, and I think just a week ago or so happily finished the semester in grading and all of that. He has 2 young children and is a delight to us all. Many of you may recognize him as that guy who sings the national anthem from time to time at the Braves game, or better, the 7th inning stretch where he sings God Bless America even more frequently. Today, because, and who knew this, there's a federal statute that requires us to do certain things when the national anthem is played, even without a flag, as we do not have a flag today. Timothy's going to be singing God Bless America. None of us want you standing up and be seeing one another's midsections as you put our hands over your hearts. So we're avoiding that, and instead we'll enjoy God Bless America. Timothy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You indeed, indeed. We're very honored to have for the invocation in a moment of silence, Senior Rabbi Peter S. Berg from the Temple in Atlanta. Most of you know the Temple already, if not well. Peter is the 5th senior rabbi since 1895, and he is one talented individual. There's much to say about him bio-wise. He's a graduate of George Washington University in DC, Hebrew Union College, both in New York and Jerusalem. He is a remarkable certificate holder in chemical dependency, spiritual counseling, and he's a trained disaster, fire, and police chaplain. Has been inducted into the College of Preachers by Morehouse College. He's been a member of Leadership Atlanta and the Downtown Rotary and the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust. He's been named by Newsweek and the Daily Beast as one of the 50 most influential rabbis in the country. We are honored to have you, Rabbi Berg. He lives, I think, with his wife and 3 kids, Karen, obviously close by. Dawn Smith, who's a partner at Smith and Files, where she practices family and education law and has an area she's worked in deeply for over 30 years. Dawn is not only known to many of us in Georgia, but she's known nationally as an expert in these areas, and as well as a trainer and a noted guardian ad litem. She speaks across the country in these areas, and she's also a notable arbitrator and mediator. And according to Georgia Super Lawyers, one of the top 50 women in Georgia and one of the top 100 super lawyers. She and I had the pleasure of clerking, the honor really, of clerking for the Honorable Marvin S. Shue together. She's a 1985 grad of North Carolina State and a cum laude grad of Georgia State University College of Law. Welcome, Dawn. We're very honored to have as our speaker today, Presiding Justice Nahmias of the Georgia Supreme Court. Justice Nahmias, notably in July, once Chief Justice Melton steps down, will be the Chief Justice of the Georgia Supreme Court. He was appointed in 2009 and elected to a 6-year term, and then in 2016 elected to another 6-year term. He's a graduate of Duke and Harvard Law School, a classmate of Justice Neil Gorsuch and President Barack Obama. He was a law clerk for, Justice Antonin Scalia. David, I think we met for the first time when I was clerking for Judge Shube and you were in the U.S. Attorney's Office long ago. After that stint as a prosecutor in Atlanta, he left for D.C., where he was one of the lead prosecutors of the terrorists after 2011 9/11 attacks. He returned home in 2004 and became the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia, where he served over numerous notable prosecutions and I'm sure herded a lot of cats in the process. We are very glad to have you, Justice Nahmias, and you and your relationship to this bar has meant a lot over the years. You all may remember, many of you with great fondness, Justice Nahmias's late wife, Kathy O'Neill, who has been such a long and instrumental part of this bar for so many years. And we are grateful to her, but we're really grateful to you for being here and for speaking today. Thank you. And then let me introduce Christina Ball, who is your incoming president. Christina, today is her birthday. Happy birthday, Christina. Christina has 2 lovely young children, very young. We're still Charlotte and Hunter, who, Christina, I hope they're baking you some kind of cake, although perhaps with supervision, right? Christina is one of the finest litigators in the country and in this city, and we are honored to have her as our next president. She's a partner at Barnes and Thornburg and a graduate of UGA Law, Go Law Dogs, and Emory University, where she took a degree in neurological behavioral biology and was in the crew. Christina defends and represents businesses and individuals and intellectual property, shareholder disputes, officer liability and insurance coverage, tort claims, commercial litigation of all types, employment litigation, property disputes, and much more, including patent, copyright, and trademark cases. We're very honored. We'll say more about Christina. She's also the former president of the Georgia Association for Women Lawyers, and many of you in our bar will know her as a past chair of the litigation section, which is one of our stalwart and most active sections. Okay, thank you for being here. Again, just a quick reminder to please mute and please don't share screen. Thanks for being here. Timothy.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, Timothy. Rabbi Berg.
Timothy, thank you so much. I'd like to just say amen and thank you. You can all go home now. That was extraordinary.
Indeed.
Thank you, thank you. And Craig, congratulations to you on the conclusion of your term, and Christina on the beginning of yours. Happy birthday. And to all of those who are receiving distinguished service awards this afternoon, so well deserved. In a world that is increasingly divided by battles over who is correct and over who is telling the truth, it has never been more important to make sure, at least sometimes, that kindness triumphs. This is not simply a hope. In the Talmud, it is God's universal prayer for everyone. What does God pray? The Talmud answers, "Let it be my will that my loving kindness suppress my anger, and that I deal with my children beyond the letter of the law." It might seem like a funny message to share with Georgia's and Atlanta's most prominent attorneys. Imagine those words, though, not only as a divine prayer, but as a model for discovering more of the happiness that we want and a better world that we each hope to see. I'd like to suggest that our coming together for this meeting is an affirmation that such a wish is actually possible. There's always some version of the letter of the law, be it in relationships or in politics or whatever, and it will always keep us debating and it will always keep us arguing. But letting kindness win sometimes, or at least a bit more often, and sharing that kindness with other people, it not only heals relationships, but neuroscience teaches us that it actually makes the doer of that kindness a much, much happier person. To me, this is the single greatest lesson that we learned during this pandemic. And so as we begin our program and our time together this afternoon, take a moment to ask yourself, who do you wish could have chosen kindness some of the time in their dealings with you? And for whom could you do the same? Think about where being correct all of the time divides us from other people, where being kind or doing someone a favor could actually bring us together, whether they deserve it or not. George Bernard Shaw once remarked that the only person who understood him in life was his tailor, since his tailor measured him anew each and every time that they met. If we're wise, we reserve judgment on others and on ourselves. It's easy to have settled ideas about who we are and to be equally settled about the character of other people. But there is wisdom in the movie The Philadelphia Story, when Katharine Hepburn declares passionately, "The time to make up your mind about people is never." So I return to the ultimate question of law, of religion, of neuroscience. How is it that we truly become happy? And the answer to that question is my prayer this morning. Don't pray for blessings, pray for important work to do. Don't pray for prestige, pray for the place to serve. Don't pray for more things to use, pray to become more useful. Don't pray for greater pleasure, pray for greater purpose. And don't pray for an easier path, pray for joy along the journey. So let us remember as this meeting now commences, that God's imagined prayer could be our lives well lived. Amen. Please join me now in a moment of silence as we think about and pray for all of those who have been affected this year by the COVID-19 pandemic. A moment of silence. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable unto you, O God, our rock and our redeemer. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Berg. For over a year, we have walked a strange and historic path together, one unlike any other. Like everyone around the world, we have experienced loss, grief, anxiety, uncertainty. It has not been easy. And we have been buffeted by forces other than the pandemic. The killing of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and others. Today is the one-year anniversary of Floyd's death. January 6th, assault on the Capitol. The March shooting of 6 Asian American women and others in our own city. God bless America indeed. Kindness indeed. Despite everything, we've had a great bar year, which is an absolute tribute to your resilience. Our sections have done so much, including our newest section, cybersecurity. Our participation levels have set records. Our standing committees, membership, innovation study, finance, and others have worked incredibly hard. Our old website will soon get the coup de grace. We've rolled up our sleeves and taken care of some things we needed to, but in ordinary years, we're too busy to take care of. Each month, we've zoomed in at noon to hear cutting-edge, world-class thinkers in the law, politics, and non-woo-woo self-care. We all belong to different bars, but this one is different. A remarkable group of lawyers in a remarkable city. On a personal note, it's been an honor and a privilege to be your Zoom/remote president. Many thanks to Terry Bryant, our executive director and CEO, and to her great bar staff for their untiring service and fortitude this year. Special thanks to Cinque Axum, the Honorable Cinque Axum, Steve Cumming, immediate past President Ryan Walsh, Chris Leitner, and Jessica Wood for their wise counsel and for keeping me between the lines. And not least, thank you to my wife, Sydney, you are all, and to our children, Lucy and Henry, and our daughter-in-law, Tessa. Thank you for your love and support. You have much to look forward to in President Christina Ball. Christina will no doubt bring strong and sensitive leadership, creativity, and a great sense of humor, all of which will take us to new heights. Happy birthday again, Christina. Many more. Now we look to a brighter day, one when we will actually get to associate with one another in person. We don't yet know what this future looks quite like. For us as individual human beings, as lawyers, or even as a bar association. We've evolved and we are still evolving. While the board is surely tired of hearing me say this, I will say it once more. I am not afraid of that future. We will not be the same, and that is okay. Join me in leaning into our future together, realizing anew how much we need one another, and doing so with great optimism and hope. Dawn.
A poem by Emily Dickinson. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me.
I want to recognize this year's board of directors and section chairs. I won't bore everyone by reading their names aloud, but they are in your program and they're available on the website. I want to say what a remarkable group of leaders these board members and these section chairs have been. While I play a little bit with a PowerPoint, just imagine showing up every Thursday morning, once, sometimes twice a month at 8 a.m. and trying to be coherent and trying to manage. I call them, let's see if I can get back to share screen here. Are kind of Savannah bananas. Perhaps you've heard of them. They are reinventing baseball in their own wonderful way. Banana ball, as practiced by the Savannah Bananas, is a lot like being a board member and being a section chair in a pandemic. All kinds of new rules. No batter can step out of the batter's box, no visits to the mounds, every inning counts. The first team to win 5 innings wins, game over, go home. No walks, no bunting, and if a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out. What's wonderful about this board and these section chairs is not only their hard work, not only they're acting and serving continuously as fiduciaries par excellence, but their innovation. In a time that called for it, they're rising to the times. And furthermore, they have been just as much fun as we all imagine the Savannah Bananas to be too. What a great group. Thank you. I wish I could give every single one of you a hug and an award. This year, we're only recognizing our Distinguished Service Award recipients. For practical and other reasons, it's just not feasible to give out the awards we always give out when we meet in person at the PDC, but we are very, very pleased to give these Distinguished Service Awards to these individuals. This award is presented to members who demonstrate a dedicated and distinguished service to the Atlanta Bar Association, either on an ongoing basis or on a specific Atlanta Bar initiative. The Honorable Diane, Bessen, and Lisa Liang for long and dedicated service to the Atlanta Lawyer magazine. Stephen LaBriola and the Honorable Sara Doyle for lengthy and still, you're not off the hook yet, guys. An amazing service as chairs of the Innovation Study Group, which was the brainchild of immediate past President Ryan Walsh, and who already foresaw that we needed to evolve and grow into a new age. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Judge Doyle. To Betsy Griswold, who has served in so many capacities that I won't name them, but now the resurrector and leader of the corporate counsel section. Betsy, thank you for your years on the foundation, including as president. Stephen Bush, whose brainchild was the cybersecurity section and who has launched in our times a new section for our times. Thank you for your hard work, Stephen. Halsey Knapp, who's the chair of the Judicial Selection and Tenure Committee. Some of you on this Zoom belong to that committee. This is one of the hardest working committees in the bar. They're expected to appear at the drop of a hat, which is not always the easiest thing to do in the middle of a busy practice, and make recommendations to the Judicial Nominating Commission on those who have been nominated for judgeships in the greater metropolitan Atlanta area. They have at their helm one of the finest lawyers I've ever known, but also one of the most sensitive ones who regularly represents us to the JNC. Recently, Halsey was unable to do that, and I had to step in, and I just had the distinct impression the JNC was very disappointed to see me. Patti Richards, the longtime leader of our audit committee and now co-chair of our finance committee. Patti, we understand you're on the road calling in some capacity. Thank you. Your work has been critical. Last, I want to recognize a group of people, the Subcommittee on In-Person Events during the pandemic. This crowd has also met on the spur of the moment, often lengthily, trying to digest and figure out public health advice, which was sometimes felt of a shifting nature, to make recommendations to the board about how we could meet and when we could meet in person. They've met multiple times, and we are very grateful to each of them and to their leader, Eric Probit. Thank you. Presiding Justice Nahmias, welcome. It's an honor to have you.
Well, thank you, Craig. Thanks for the inspirational song and prayer and poem, and congratulations to Craig and the board members and section chairs who've served over the past year, and to the recipients of the Distinguished Service Awards. It's good to see everybody, even if it's only virtually. We've all been through a lot over the past 15 months as we've dealt with this pandemic. It's been a very difficult period for most of us, personally and professionally. Even if we've been personally spared illness, most of us have either lost a family member or know someone who's lost a family member, and almost everyone has lost a friend to this disease. And we've seen so many other people suffer, and all of the effects of the shutdowns and restrictions on the legal system and throughout our economy. We've made it thus far with a lot of hard work and resilience, a lot of compassion and cooperation and creativity, and with some really good leadership from people like Chief Justice Harold Melton, who I think has combined wisdom and patience and consensus building in a remarkable way to get our justice system through this crisis. I can only hope to emulate his abilities when I take over as Chief Justice in July. But now we see this big bright light coming at the end of the tunnel as more and more Georgians are vaccinated. I'll tell you that all of the 9 justices on the Supreme Court have been vaccinated. My entire family is vaccinated, and I strongly encourage you to get the shots to protect yourselves and others if you haven't done that already. Vaccination is what allows us to return to normal activities like eating indoors in restaurants and going to sporting events. And there's this big sense a lot of people, especially if you've been vaccinated, have of kind of, whew, we've made it through this. But there's one big difference with the courts. Most restaurants don't have 1,000 meals that have built up and are waiting just to be served. And the Braves aren't going to play all those games that got canceled next year. They're gone. But our judicial system has thousands, actually tens of thousands, of cases that have not been resolved due to the judicial emergency and the limitations on in-person court proceedings. And new cases are still being filed every day, like they always have been. Every one of those cases involves real people or real businesses. They're your clients, they're our fellow citizens and the employers in Georgia. And when the pandemic ends and life goes back to normal in so many areas, the judicial system is not going to be back to normal. Even after we get rid of the masks and we take down all those plexiglass barriers that are in our courtrooms now. It's going to take at least a year, maybe 2 years, in some busy places like Fulton County, maybe 3 years, to get back with our judicial system to what we used to think of as normal. And the slower we go about it, the slower justice is going to be delivered to all of those people and businesses involved in all of those cases. We have a very, very big hole that we have to work our way out of. So we need to continue to work together. One of the positive things I've seen over the last 15 months is the overall high level of professionalism in our state's bar and judiciary. Lawyers have worked together and worked with judges to make the system work as effectively as it could under the circumstances. Just take the technology that lawyers and judges have available and are comfortable using, and think how dramatically that's changed. 15 months ago, it was a fairly unusual thing for a judge to have a telephone conference in a case. But today, most judges are comfortable having remote video conferences to resolve all sorts of matters that normally would require an in-person appearance in court. It's been a major way we've been able to move cases along. I've seen very zealous criminal defense lawyers and equally zealous prosecutors work with judges to try to find ways to keep defendants out of jail on bond or in diversion programs or in other ways that they weren't in the dangerous and expensive setting of jails when we had no grand juries and no jury trials to get their cases resolved. I've seen civil plaintiffs lawyers and defense lawyers use remote depositions and ADR to try to get their cases resolved. And I've seen bar organizations like this one continue to work and meet remotely to get the work that they do, the important work for lawyers in our state, done. Now, I doubt you're ever going to want to do another remote annual meeting like this, but just think if you had asked 2 years ago, could this even be possible? Almost no one would have thought it could work. Now, this work together hasn't been perfect. It never is, and there's always some members of our profession who seem to forget that we are a profession and that civility matters, that we're all of us, judges and lawyers, are all officers of our justice system. But as a whole, it's been pretty inspirational. And we need to retain that spirit of cooperation and civility and creativity, even when we get rid of the masks and are allowed to stand closer together again, if we're going to have any chance to work through this huge backlog of cases and deal with all the new cases coming in. So we also need you to share your ideas for what works and what needs to be adjusted. We've learned an awful lot over the past 15 months about different ways of doing things. And we need to figure out which of those different ways of doing things we should keep doing or expand on to make our system work more effectively and more efficiently instead of going back to what we used to think was normal. And I hope you'll share your ideas of things that have worked well for you and your clients and your organizations as we go forward. Share them with the judges in your cases, share them through your bar associations, or contact representatives of the COVID-19 Judicial Task Force so that we can think about how to institutionalize those improvements. But only if we all work together are we going to ensure that our justice system remains a place where disputes are resolved peacefully and fairly and in accordance with the rule of law. When the pandemic ends for so many people in our society, the consequences are going to continue for lawyers and judges, and we have an obligation to our society to continue to work together cooperatively to make sure that we have a system that engenders the trust and confidence of the public. So thank you again for all of what you've done over the past 15 months, everything you've endured. Thank you in advance for the work that you're going to help us with as we dig out of these problems. And thank you again for letting me be with you today. Craig, what's next?
Thank you, Justice Nahmias. That was great. We are moving to install the 2021 officers, board of directors, and section chairs, and I will read their names. And if you could, as I read your name, unmute yourself, and then Justice Nahmias will give you the oath and ask you a couple of questions, at the end of which you will respond, "I do." I'm going to quickly share screen so you can see who these folks are as they're coming on. Christina Ball, Chris Leitner, Amy Ching, Emily Ward, yours truly, Ty Brown, Brooke French, Abby Morrow, Lillian Caudle, John Haddon, Kevin Patrick, Kimberly Charles, Hamida Jackson Little, Jericho Phillips, Eric Provitt, Joanna Smith, and our section chairs, Matt Gass, Greg Taub, Jeremy Corcoran, Eric Coleman, Betsy Griswold, Emily Ward again, Scott Zucker, Laura Atkins, Linda Pacer, the Honorable Rebecca Reeder, Umar Bakash, Lisa Green, the Honorable Winona Belton, Abigail Larimer, and Lillian Caudle. Stephen Bush, Sarah Babcock, Elizabeth Shortridge, Chris Brannon, Charles Hodges, and Christy Barnett. Would you please unmute for the oath? Justice Nahmias.
All right. If all of you who are taking the oath will please raise your right hand. I'm going to ask you a question and ask you to affirm by saying I do. Do you hereby accept the position in the Atlanta Bar Association to which you have been duly elected or appointed and promise to diligently fulfill the duties required of you? Do you further promise to uphold the honor of the profession of law and to apply your knowledge and experience in promoting the purposes and activities of the Atlanta Bar Association and your section? If so, please say I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
All right. Well, congratulations to all of you and thank you for your continued willingness to serve.
Thank you, Justice Nahmias, and congratulations, 21, 22 Board of Directors members and section chairs. Thank you for your service still to come. At this point, Christina and I will try to very awkwardly pass the gavel. And then Christina will speak, and in her first official duty as bar president will adjourn us when she's done. Christina, at the end of the year, it's a lot lighter.
Well, thank you. We'll just off camera pretend like that happened. Well, thank you. And congratulations to Craig and the board from last year for a fantastic year despite trying times. And thank you to our bar staff. So Craig asked me to prepare about 5 minutes of discussion. So I have like 12 typed pages. I hope that's okay with everyone. And that is absolutely a joke. Craig set me up and said I was funny, so I had to throw something in here. But I'm sure I'm not the only one who wishes that we were in person enjoying those buttered crackers at the PDC. But thank you guys for attending today virtually so that we could still praise the hard work of all of those who received the Distinguished Service Awards and our outgoing board members. And also to show support for our incoming board, section leadership, and committee members. So when I get asked, what does the Atlanta Bar do? I always pause because I feel like that's asking, you know, why is the sky blue or something else? It's too easy to give a top of the waves kind of answer. And frankly, that's oftentimes what you end up having to do. Because frankly, when you think about the tireless effort of all of the leaders of this bar, of which there are so many, we really have the ability to reach out to so many different attorneys and provide support for all stages of our careers as well as our lives as we go through everything from law student, baby attorney, more seasoned attorney, and then as we're reaching that age where you get to play a whole lot more golf than you do showing up in court. And this past year, of course, as we all know, we have had what we consider to be normal challenged. We've had a constant barrage of events and circumstances that have forced us to evaluate our lives and our commitments. And as tough as this past year or 15, 16 months have been, I think there have been some silver linings. I think so many of us have had a lot of introspective moments, and we should not ignore those, and they should not be flung aside as we go about returning to normal. And so this next year, we will take what we've learned about ourselves, about the practice of law as it stands today, about the bar, and we are going to implement that knowledge and grow as we can as a bar to better meet each other and our members where they are. And I think if nothing else, the fact that we have had so much interest in returning to in-person events means we actually like each other. And I don't know how surprising that was for anyone else that a bunch of lawyers actually like a bunch of lawyers, but it's great to see. So with as many kind remarks as I've received in the last weeks, as everyone has congratulated me on assuming this role and said that they are looking forward to the next year, I really hope that you reach out and provide that same support to all of the other board members, to the section leadership, to the committee members, because frankly, they're the ones that do the majority of the work. And there is so much work that gets done by this bar and so much that is done in our communities and our lives. And I want to thank every last person who raised their hand and committed to volunteering their time and their lives for the service to this board. It is the strength of our members and the strength of our leaders that makes this bar what it is. So as we return to normal, please do not forget what we've learned about ourselves, about the practice, and about our communities as we come together stronger for what we have learned and go through this next board year together. And with that, because I type in really big print, that was 12 pages. Okay, no, it was not. But those are my remarks for today. And so with that, I adjourn this meeting and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.